Hey, Yuri, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gus. Thank you. How you doing?
Doing good. So let's start off first with your artwork. Tell me about your artwork, how you got started, and what influences you then and now.
I think what really influences me most is people. I really have always been attracted to the way people look when they are in their own space, and even if I'm doing a painting of someone whose photograph has been taken, that photograph usually captures something about their personality that attracts me. That could be my mom, my dad, my brother. It could be Keith Richards. I just did a couple new paintings of Keith Richards. And it always goes directly to the eyes. I've always been super attracted to people's eyes because that's the window to the soul, obviously. But there's something you can tell about someone and your kinship with them, whether you're related to them or not, in their eyes. And to me, that's the key thing. I think that's what it goes to. And so I got started. I actually got started in art because when I was a kid, I lived in a foster home, and my family all wanted to take pictures, and I didn't feel a part of the family. They wanted to take group pictures. Like we travel from California into Arizona, and they all want to stand near the Arizona signs. Let's take a picture by the state sign, right? And so I said, fuck this. I'm going to take the picture so I don't have to be in the picture. So I started taking pictures when I was a kid, and then that one thing led to another, and I started finding that I had a voice with photography. And so my first love was photography. That moved into film. And then I was hooked up with this painter for many years, who's a real famous painter, or at least used to be. Her name's Gloria Ann Harris, and she's a super awesome painter, still is. And I broke up with her and started painting because I didn't want to paint while I was with her because her influence might have been too strong. But when I broke up with her, I started painting again. And she's still friends. We're still friends. But the whole thing about painting was I realized it was something immediate that I loved, and I needed to express myself in a way that I could watch paint dry, because I love watching paint dry because the way it changes color, the way it changes from the way it's wet to when it's dry, and how it mixes with the oil. And because I mix oil and watercolor together, which is unusual, but that's kind of where it got started. I guess that's it in a nutshell. That's the story basically.
So your family wanted to take group pictures, and you just said, "No, I'll be behind the camera instead."
Yeah, totally. And that one thing led to another, because once I started taking pictures, I would take the group pictures, and then I'd say, "Hey, let me play with this camera a little while," and then I'd start taking pictures of my brother, and like here's a picture of my brother. This became one of the pictures of my brother later when I got as a better career. But this is a 4x5 I did of him when he was 16 or 17, and that was later when I had acquired some skill at it, and I was like I think I was 18 or something when I did that one. So, and then I began to so even that photograph that I shot probably in 1979, I still use it to make paintings from.
So it's the base picture that you use to create your art.
Yeah, very rarely do I paint from nature. I paint from photographs because photographs have always captured something for me individually. And I believe, there is a place for people who paint from nature, but I paint from what I see in a photograph because for me, it's a moment in time that I can dive into. I can study the photograph in a way that allows me to free up my arm and free up my mind, and listen to that person speak when they're not there. And that's kind of why the photographs mean something to me.
And not solely your photographs, but all photographs? You happen to see something in a magazine or somewhere else?
Yeah, exactly. The Keith Richards paintings that are up there on the wall are from his latest book cover. And it's just if the photographer has done their work and they've told me something with their work, then I'm more than happy to utilize it. I mean, you know, Andy Warhol did that a lot. He started it by his images they were more about the pop part of art, but the idea of taking someone else's photograph and turning it into something new is not. That's an interesting thing to me. And if I'm the one who's taking the photograph, so much the better. It allows me to give the photograph something new. It allows me to rethink what I originally thought about that image. And like, you know, I've got photographs of, you know, old girlfriends that I'm thinking about doing paintings about, you know, because, you know, you stop being with a girlfriend, the memories are different than they were when you were breaking up or while you were with them. Things change, but there's something about that relationship that remains, that's in the photograph that you took of them. And so you can take that, and that becomes something more than what, you know, that becomes a memory, but also something new. So I think, you know, it's a process of remembering, but bringing the memory to new color, which is, color is like the primary subject matter for me. Aside from the image of the person, you'll find that in a lot of my photographs, a lot of my paintings, you don't have to know the person in order to know what the image is about. And you'll see clues in the titles about who that person is, but if you don't need to know who that person is, to me, you'll still find something in the image that could, that might interest you, because color is as much of a subject matter. Color brings together the subject that I'm painting and the emotion that I'm painting that they bring to me. That's what color brings that together. Sort of like the glue.
Right, that holds it together. Now, the photographs, are they normally black and white, and then you put color into them when you paint, or is it depending?
It can be either one. You know, and I don't. It can be a black and white photo, or it can be a color photo. I don't. That's not what I see when I see the photograph. I see the emotion of. I see emotion. I see their person, their soul. And that is a color. It could be red, it could be blue, it could be a combination of all different colors, but it's always going to be something that strikes me. And so, you know, I'll always think of a color when I see the photograph. You know, and the color can change from one, like I might do 10 or 20 paintings of the same photograph, and the color changes because I remember something different about an element of my experience with that person, or what I think they might have experienced. It's all about the imagination, you know.
So there is a primary color that is the base for your painting when you look at the photograph?
There often is a primary color, or there's a feeling that makes the color primary. And sometimes that changes. Like it can start with one color and end up to be another, because everything changes. Once you put one color next to another color, you have a completely different emotion than when you had the one color. And then the more you add, the more you layer it, the more things get complex and change. And then as you get further on into the painting, the most important thing is pulling it all together so that the composition is cohesive, and so that your eye isn't running off the edge of the painting, or it's not, or it's unbalanced. And I think the key to any good painting is it must stand alone on its own, and it has to be something that makes your eye travel around the paintings continuously, so that you don't want to stop looking at it. And that's a key element of composition in anything, whether it's film, painting, photography, sculpture, whatever. It's how you lead the person's eye around. And you know, you can't always dictate, but you can often guide.
That's a great analogy. You know, you brought up film, and talk a little bit about your film history and some of the projects that you have worked on.
Well, I've got a project right now which is near and dear to my heart. It's called A Venice Tale, and it's a chase thriller based on experiences that happened to me and my friends in the 80s that I've transposed to 2011, whenever it gets made. We should be shooting it this year sometime, I think. I'm going to direct it, I hope. There's Peter Bogdanovich is playing one of the parts. He's if people don't know who he is, he's a Academy Award winning director. And we've got another actor by the name of Ronnie Blevins, and we've got Tasha Ames. Tasha is a Venice resident. She's a wonderful actress who won an ovation last year. And we've got Tura Riefenstein, who's from Germany. He's very famous. He played Hitler in his last movie. He's going to play the bad guy. And there's a couple of surprises, some exciting surprises for new actors who I think people will know their names. And it's going to be an all Venice Beach project. A lot of the Venice locals are their elements of their personalities are in the movie. In fact, there are some characters in the movie that are real Venice people, and so I hope to have the blessing and the support of the Venice community to make this movie, because it's a fun thing. That's just one project. I mean, I also do experimental videos, which there's a place called Area 33 in Culver City, and places downtown like the Pershing Square, the Autumn Lights. I do a lot of video projections, so they're like in the old days they'd be considered sort of psychedelic video projections, but these are more modern and often political, and they're used to support other musicians, other artists, acrobatic acts, whatever, fire acts, all kinds of stuff. So I spend a lot of time doing video projections whenever I can get the gig.